Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sentence Diagramming 101. We are in Part 2, Chapter 3, Section D. So we have made it through STVDOOCs and STVDOOCs and STVDOOCs, and now we are ready for subject, transitive verb, direct object, object complements, or the STVDOOCs. Some people call them STVDOOCs, but I always keep saying STVDOOCs, so that's what it is. And again, this is just for this book, and it makes my life easier to say STVDOOC instead of saying STVDOOC every single time. But essentially, you're going to start with the STVDO, right, the direct object pattern, and then you're going to add an extra word, an object complement, a word that goes back and tells you more about that object. So she is my subject. What did she do? She painted. What did she paint? She painted the room. So the room is the direct object, and then blue is complementing that object, telling me more about the room. The students elected Grady class president, so students are the subject. What are they doing? They're electing. They're electing Grady, so Grady's my direct object. Apparently my cat has something to say about that. And then class president is the object complement. It is describing Grady, right? Giving me more information about Grady. Gray called Grady her favorite fisherman. So Gray is my subject. What did she do? She called Grady. And then what did she call Grady? A fisherman, right? So fisherman is the object complement. Her and favorite are acting as adjectives here. Gray recognized Maddie as Grady's son. This is all from Catch and Release, the movie Catch and Release, in case you haven't seen it. But Gray is the subject. What did she do? She recognized Maddie, right? So Maddie is the direct object. Now we have an extra word here, an as, that you may sometimes have in an object complement situation. It's considered an expletive, which is an extra word that you can cross out, and the sentence still means the same thing, because you could say Gray recognized Maddie, Grady's son, right? We'll talk more about expletives in a later chapter. I think it's chapter 8. But for now, we're still in the same situation. Son is the object complement, renaming or describing Maddie a little bit more. So these are STVDOOCs. Now you diagram them the same way you've done so far with the STVDO, right? Horizontal line, line straight through, half a line for that direct object, except now we're going to add a new player, right? A backward leaning line to the right of the direct object line. So you kind of imagine, right, that your object complement is renaming your direct object. So it's sort of like an arrow almost. That's why they did it that way. But you don't have to draw the arrow. You can just draw the slanty line. So if we've got she painted Grady's room blue, you're like she painted room and it's Grady's room, and then she painted it blue. So that's how you would diagram it right there. Now moving on to those others, if we are students and we are electing Grady, we're electing Grady what? As president, and then what kind of president? Class president. So if we had an as here, they elected Grady as class president. If you scoot down here, you can see this little as. Sometimes this is a dotted line, sometimes it's a straight line. We'll just call it a dotted line to make life easier. And then the as kind of floats up here as an extra. We will spend way more time on this expletive situation in the future when we get to the expletive section. But for now, just, that's how you do it if you have an as in the middle of a direct object and an object complement. But they kind of all look the same, right? She called Grady fisherman. Gray recognized Maddie's son. The students elected Grady president. So notice you should be able to read the basic words in the sentence across the top from left to right. And that's how you can test that your diagram is correct, right? You have the right words in the right spot. Now, a brief note. Remember I said that all of these patterns can be divided out into sub-patterns? Well, the STVDOOC is no exception to the rule. You can divide up your object complement, that OC, into two categories, and they are the predicate nominative. All right, predicate is a fancy word. It just means everything, not the subject. So when you've got a subject and a predicate, you have a subject, the doer or the actor of the sentence, and then the predicate is everything else. So it includes the verb, it includes any objects, it includes any complements. So that's all that predicate means. Now, the second words here are what matter. Predicate just meaning on the right half of the sentence, right after the subject. But nominative is a noun. whereas an adjective is an adjective. So what they're asking you is the object complement a noun or an adjective? And then that's how they divide it up. So in this one, you see she painted Grady's room blue. Well, blue is an adjective. So this is technically a STVDOOC A because it's an adjective. So it might also be called a STVDOOC PA. Some books call it PA because it's a predicate adjective. But for our purposes, I'll just throw the A on there. And then, they elected Grady president. President is a noun, right? It's a thing. So this would be a STVDOOC N. Some books would have a PN here because it's predicate nominative, but nominative is just a fancy word for, noun or sometimes subject. Fisherman is a thing. It's a person. So that's going to be a STVDOOC N as well. So object complements can only be nouns, pronouns, adjectives. So that does narrow it down a little bit. You're not going to have a verb in your object complement section. So hopefully that will help you figure them out. Now, just like everything else, you can have compounds, right? You can have compound subjects. You can have compound objects. You can have all sorts of compounds. And now it is time to practice. So diagram some sentences that have object complements in them, and then watch the video and check your answers for exercise 3D.